When it comes to dealing with the infamous bias drift issue on Marshalls of a certain era, DSLs, TSLs, it's the JCM 2000 series, really. There have been numerous solutions to that problem from many different people. And for a long time, my favoured solution was a repair kit from one of my good suppliers, Stuart, at Valve Tube Guitar Amps, and he had a little satellite board that replaced the bias board inside the amplifier, and you ran flying leads over to the main board, you drilled out the pins, and it was a surprisingly neat and efficient solution to the problem, and it worked well. He's discontinued that and is in fact developing his own full-size main PCB for those amps. That's not available. Now, one of the best solutions currently on the market is a similar thing to that. Again, the full main PCB, but from, most of you will know him, Brad's Guitar Garage. Brad Webb, down in Oz. And that's what we've decided to do, is we're going to fit this board to that TSL. It's a TSL 100. We're going to do a little review, inspect the board, tell you what it's about, look at everything you get, etc, etc. So, and then I can give you my opinion on it. You can make your own opinion as to whether you think it's the best solution or not. But obviously I haven't opened the box yet. From what I've seen online, that other people have done it, you know, the forum posts and all that kind of stuff, I believe at this present moment in time, it is the best solution. So that's what I'm hoping it turns out to be. So let's get this thing open. It took, what was it, just roughly over a week to get here from New South Wales in Australia, which I didn't think is too bad. I mean, I'm sure there are quicker services. You could probably do a 2-day service on FedEx. It was sent, you know, international post. That's my import paperwork. And we'll have a look at what we get. So this is how it comes packaged. Nicely done. That'll be the main board. Before we open that, we've got, we get a sticker as well, and that can go on the door. How cool is that? Cheers, Brad. Right, I'm just going to move the camera and we'll inspect this board. I mean, this definitely calls for the Lazy Susan, doesn't it? Before we actually have a look at the board, what you also get, and Brad kindly emailed this over to me, is some documentation to accompany the replacement board. First thing you get is a full connector map. So rather than having to work it out yourself, you can quite simply follow this to know where all the connectors go inside the chassis, because as you'll see later on, there's quite a few of them and it can get very confusing, and it doesn't follow any level of common sense. That's what I'm trying to say. It can be a bit confusing. So Brad supplies this so you can see on the main PCB, for example, you know, connector 13 there connects to connector 18 on the front bottom PCB. And it's as easy as that. And you can just go through and double check everything. You've got wire colors here. You know exactly where things are going to go and why. So connector 1 on the main PCB goes all the way to the bias trim pot PCB. And you're not going to get confused that way. That's brilliant. The other thing you get, which has really impressed me, is you get a full bill of materials. So for example, he has supplied, it's 6 pages long, by the way, all this detail. I absolutely love it. You can see, right, C4 is a 33,000 microfarad 10 volt radial electrolytic. That's the manufacturer code. This is with the primary vendor for the part and a secondary vendor. So what I can do now, both Mauser and DigiKey, is if I need further information on any of those parts, I can go to those vendors, download the data sheet and check everything if I have a question or I have a query or something along those lines. And he's done that for every every single component. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, this is the sort of detail that we love to see. Zoom you out. Anyway, here's the PCB. I'm just going to quickly go and ground myself, just in case I've got any static, and we'll unwrap it. Okay, here we go. So this is the main PCB, and as far as I understand it, it follows the general signal flow and layout of the original PCB in the amp, but obviously it's built with much higher quality components. The traces are much better. You've got nice thick traces where you need them. Look at that ground trace there, that's monstrous. Very high quality components throughout, of which we can go and refer to if we need to. He's added the slots on the output valve sockets. His own logo on there. Revision A, October 24. This is for the 3-channel 100 watt model, TSL. It's got a date sticker on as well, so we know which batch it comes from. All the high quality connectors and bits and pieces like that. Those diodes nicely elevated off the board there. See, this is the kind of standard that can be achieved if you put a little bit of effort into it and you care about what you're doing. Look at this side of the board. Again, it's all fantastically well done. Nice through-hole stuff. Absolutely brilliant. It looks and feels and weighs like a quality piece of kit. All right, so all your connectors are marked up as well, so you know exactly where everything is. Look at that, Weimers, got Panasonic there, Nichicons. Everything labelled properly. We know exactly what's what and where's where. First impressions, that is an exceptional quality product. So I think the only thing to do is to get the old PCB out of the chassis, get this one installed, and then fire it up. Right, so here we go then. You can see how many different wires and cables and things and connectors there are, which is why this connector map is going to be incredibly useful. What I thought we'd do is time. How long it's going to take me just to do the swap itself. I've discharged the amp. I have removed the valves, as you can see, so they're not in. And I'm going to time lapse this, but we'll have the kitchen timer going so you lot can see exactly how long it takes me, a professional, to do this board swap. My plan of attack is going to be unplug all the connectors first. All right, then flip the chassis over, and that allows me to remove the board from the underside, which is the way it comes out. All right, so enjoy the time lapse. Just over 3 minutes. Right, okay, we'll put this to one side. We'll get Brad's board and we'll put them side by side. Quite cool, really. So we need to get this one out. So we'll disconnect the connector there. And then it's just going to be the 4 output valve sockets that are holding this thing to this casing. Easy as that, look. 6 minutes to get that board completely out. Right, okay, so let's reverse the operation. So first thing I've got to do is swap over the standoffs, which appear to be all in the same locations as the original, which is what we want. So we'll get those swapped over. Yeah, that way. Like that. Oh, I should be timing. Right, okay, so that's the board now into the enclosure here. I am being super nitpicky here in that the tolerances are so good on it. You have to be perfect in your alignment to get everything to sit. You'll notice in that time lapse, I had to back out the standoff mounts slightly just to get the board exactly into position, because this socket was fouling on the edge, but the placement is so good that if you don't get your alignment right, it won't fit properly. It's a good thing. The reason I'm being nitpicky is if you're a pro and you understand that, that's fine. But if you're a novice, you might accidentally force something and break it, which I wouldn't want you to do. So what I did was I backed those standoffs back out, shifted everything over, used the socket screws here, the output valve socket screw mounts here, just to keep everything in line, get the board where I wanted it, and then I snugged those back down. It's just something you need to be aware of. I mean, you can see we've got a tiny bit more clearance this side of the bias board than you do this side. So maybe you might open that up slightly just there. But again, I'm being so nitpicky, you probably just ignore what I'm saying. I'm just thinking of people trying to do this at home, and any hurdles they might come across. But if you know what you're doing and you understand it, it's really not a problem at all. But there you go, cool. Right, so that is now in. The old board is out. Customer will get to keep that, but it's certainly not going to be used again. Okay, so connectors then. When I took this thing apart, I didn't pay attention to where any of the connectors go, because what I wanted to do was to see how easy it is to follow the connector map that Brad has supplied. So I deliberately didn't take any photos of the old board and where all the old connectors went, because I want to see how difficult it's actually going to be. First one, of course, is this one here. And this says connector one on here goes to the bias trim pot PCB. So the one that's already on the bias trim pot PCB goes here. Easy. Just make sure you've got a good snug fit on that. You haven't pulled any of the wires out of the connector, stuff like that. Do you know, I'm really impressed by the build quality of this thing. This is mightily impressive. Oh, we need to add a couple of seconds to our timer for doing that connector. There you go. Okay, so the next job will be getting this back into the chassis and reconnecting everything up. Now, for example, I've got a connector down here, right in the bottom right-hand corner, labelled W1, and W1 here, chassis ground. Right, so I need to make sure that W1 connects to the wire which goes to our chassis ground. All right, that's probably what we need to do. We'll just move this out of the way, grab our chassis. Right, let me just double check my orientation of everything. It goes that way. It goes this way. Right. Okay. Okay, so W1 is now over here. And there's my chassis ground. What I would say, it's probably a good idea, chassis ground, we'll just write on there that it is a green wire. Good, excellent. And what I'm going to do is, oh look, there's another green wire here that also goes to our chassis ground. So I need to look on here to find another chassis ground, W14, chassis ground. Are there any others? No. So W14 on here is up here. So that wire there connects here, which makes sense when that thing's flipped. Okay. So we'll add a couple of seconds for doing those two connectors. Right, what I'm going to do then is just to hold this in place while I flip it upside down, we'll just pop a couple of these screws back into place just to keep this thing square, keep those safe. And then we'll flip this thing over and start to make our connections. So I'm just going to go through the connector list. I'm going to tick them off as they go. So I know I've done connector 1. So I'll tick that one there. And this chassis ground down here was also green, wasn't it? So we'll just write that on, just so I don't forget. I'm going to work my way down these connectors here. So it looks like I've got 1 through to 14 here. Plus I've got W1 through to 14. So that should be all the connections I need to make. But I'm going to go through and do that now. We'll start the timer off again. Oh, it's still going. And yeah, I'll see you on the other side. Right, I've stopped the clock. I've got all of the connections done, apart from one, which is W2 on the main PCB over to W4 on the rear PCB. And it should be a yellow wire. So here's W4 on the rear PCB, here's W2 on the main PCB. And it's a yellow wire with 2 spade connectors on. And I can't find the wire. And I've just gone back and I've looked at the start of this video. The wire isn't there. I've gone back and looked at the previous repair video I did when we were looking on this board. That wire wasn't there. And I've gone back and looked at the original inspection video on this amp, and that wire wasn't there. Has this amp always been missing W2 on the main board to W4 on the rear board? It's your negative feedback wire. Just to confirm, here's the schematic, and I'll show you. Here is W4 on the rear board coming from the 4 ohm tap. We've got a dropper resistor there, and W4, which connects over to W2 in your phase inverter. It's your negative feedback. This amp's had that wire missing for God knows how long. So thanks for this. Really helpful. So I know now that I also need to add a jumper from W2 on the main board over to W4 on this rear board. And I've double checked that wire was not there when this amp came in. So it's been missing. It's been missing for a while. So I've got to make up some connectors and things. I've no idea where that's gone. But we do know, don't we? We do know that this amp went into Marshall at some point and had this board replaced. So did Marshall forget to put that connector back? Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and add that connector. I'm not going to add it to our timer for the sake of, you know, how long this repair should take. But I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then all those connections are done. So I can then do a fire up on the bench. But look, we've done it really and in under half an hour, start to finish, board swap. That's really good. That's really, really good. So by the time you fired this thing up, done all your voltage checks, done your reset your bias, and done a full test of all the channel operation and everything else, this is going to be under an hour. Realistically, you could do this in under 1 hour, and I think that's exceptional, because the old way I used to do it with the satellite board and drilling out the pins on this board would take me well over that. And so I think the time that you save, the simplicity of it, because there's no soldering, it's just plug and play, a couple of bits of hardware, so you just need a screwdriver. Not difficult at all. Not difficult at all. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and add a wire in, and then we'll get testing. Okay, fired up on the bench. It's now been running fully biased up as well for about 45 minutes, and the bias is super stable. The power consumption from the wall is bang on 150 watts, and today's wall voltage, for those who are interested, is 239.6 volts, giving us a current consumption of 759 milliamps. It's running great. I have no problem with this now. It's got the usual Marshall transformer hum, but you know what you're going to do about that. But yeah, this thing is now pretty much fixed. I just need to give it one final blast on the maximum output, so to really stress this thing. Come back, double check the bias, leave it running for another half an hour or so, maybe 45 minutes. But yeah, we'll call this one done. All sorted then. I posed a question in the thumbnail and title. Is the Brad's Guitar Garage bias drift board the best solution currently available? Without shadow of a doubt. That thing is brilliant. Proof's in the pudding. Less than half an hour for me to do the swap. It's impeccably designed, impeccably manufactured, easy to do. And I would say, even if you are a hobbyist at home or a novice, as long as you follow the basic safety precautions that you should be doing whenever you work on any guitar amplifier, there's no reason why you couldn't do it yourself. So yeah, this one gets a big old thumbs up from me. Be interesting to see what else comes out on the market in the future. As I mentioned, there are some other things coming, but as of today, as I'm filming this now, that's the best thing I've ever come across for these. Absolutely fantastic. So we'll give this one, I don't do ratings, but we'll give it a 10 out of 10. There's nothing wrong with it. It's absolutely perfect. So well done, Brad. Excellent job. Customer's going to be very happy with this. And it just leaves me to say thank you very much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, or your comments and questions down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so you know when any new videos come out. If you're feeling super generous like these guys were, including Brad, why not join the channel? And I will catch you all at the next one. Right, so it's been running now. I've actually left it going for, it's an hour and 58 minutes, coming up to 2 hours now, running at rated outputs. So you can see there, that's your output sine wave. It's currently doing 26.5 volts into 8 ohms. That puts us, okay, it's about 90 watts, fine, all right. We can make it do 100. 100 watts into 8 ohms would be 28 and a bit. So we're getting a little bit of round off there, but it's not struggling to achieve the type of power it needs to. Absolutely no bias drift whatsoever. Everything is running beautifully. Everything works as it should. The presence control works, and all those other bits. So yeah, it's all good. It's fine. You can stick this back in the cabinet. Customer can have this. I've signed this one off. So I think he's going to be really pleased. It's a nice fix. Very happy with it all. I'll just tidy up some of the wires, stick some cable ties in, etc, 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 whatever. And we'll call this one